Good morning, students. How you all doing? Very, very good morning. Such a beautiful Tuesday. Yes. So we're here going to start a new chapter today in civics, democracy, and diversity. So we are in the third chapter of civics. A very small but a very important chapter, and very beautifully woven chapter, setting an example in the beginning and telling you the main points of this chapter. It will really give you the actual meaning of this chapter, democracy and diversity. Well, I hope we know what is the meaning of democracy. We've been doing this in our previous chapters also, and we have been doing it in many of the classes. It's a very, very common topic. All right. So, before I go, we need to just pray a little, thank God, and then start our day. So, take a deep breath, just pray, and tell God that make everything around good, make everybody happy, and everybody stay in good condition. Nobody goes through hardship. Everybody gets what they want. Yes, that's better. I pray and I feel better. I feel confident. Believe it, you will also. Yes. So, I, Shamishta Ghosh of the Millennium School, Lucknow, here today start the new chapter of civics, democracy and diversity. As I just said in the introduction, a very easy and a very nicely woven chapter with a very relevant example. So, as the word suggests, democracy, we are very clear about this concept. It's the governance of the people, for the people, by the people, how it works, right? And we have learned a lot about this word democracy in class 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, especially a beautiful chapter, what is democracy and why democracy. We have done in 9th. So, we know the concept of democracy, but when this word democracy comes along with that, another word can be easily associated, that is diversity. Diverse means differences. And we can see that how power can be distributed to accommodate linguistic and regional diversities in it, and that we have seen in the previous chapter, that how the regional policy and your linguistic policies have been differentiated and how it has worked. That gives us diversity. In India, when we have seen that language policy, our whole country was divided into many of the states on the basis of linguistic policy. That is your diversity. Then people also identify themselves on the basis of their physical appearances, your class, your religion you belong, your gender, your caste, your tribes. Here also comes your diversity, the differences, the various stages. So this is another part we are going to discuss in this chapter. So in this chapter we will study how democracy responds to the social differences, divisions and inequalities. That how the social differences are there built up in the society due to this diversity. Then finally we will learn about democracies, democratic policies, effects, and it's affected by this social diversity. That will be the last topic that we are going to. So the whole chapter is divided into three parts, and beautifully, to start with, it's going to start with a relevant example so that we can associate the social differences and how it is going to affect the democratic policies. That example is going to be related in every part of this chapter. As if you remember, the first chapter we have done power sharing. We started the whole chapter with a example of a country, Belgium. We took two examples, and the whole chapter was so clear to us with the relevance of those two examples, the country example of Belgium and your Sri Lanka. Likewise, when we are going to talk about diversity, that's how diversity is so associated with democracy, how it creates differences in the society. It will make us very clear here that how this diversity is built up. So the first thing that we are going to do here is we are going to take an example, a very relative example, what Olympics have to do in civics. Yeah, that's what we are going to do it here. So it's a story of Mexico Olympic that was held in 1968 in Mexico. So before we move, a small thing that you need to do is go to find out where is this Mexico in the world map, and you're going to just put it, you're going to you need to have a map, and you want to show the place Mexico. To your reference, Mexico is somewhere in the North and the South America, in between somewhere. So you need to find out and just color that up and fix in your copies, because it becomes important that you should know that where is this country, and we are taking up an example. So it becomes very important here. So this is a landmark story in the history of civil rights movement and a country which is known as the United States of America, a very powerful country at that time also, and it's been now also we know it. In 1968 there was an Olympics in Mexico. So what actually happened there and how it affected the people all over the world, and especially United States of America, that's all the story about. So there was your 200 meters race. This time also when we have our Olympics, there was 200 meter race. So in 200 meter race, there were three people who won naturally: gold, silver and bronze. So who was the first one who won in that Olympics? That was your Tommy Smith, who won a gold. Then there was another person who won a silver. Who was that? He was Peter Norman from Australia. And the third one was John Carlos, who won a bronze, the third place, who was from United States, US. Tommy Smith was also from US. But what is the story all about? Very good. US won. So the medal tally increased. They got gold also, they got bronze also. But no, the story begins here, because these two people were African American athletes. Now the question arises, what we mean by African American? Let's go and recap. If you remember, we have in 9th done a very important topic in French Revolution, slavery. What were the French doing? The Europeans, sorry, yes, you can say. They were going to African coasts and they were picking up the Africans to work in America. They were taking them as slaves. So at that time, the people who stayed over there, they actually became the natives of America. So these two gentlemen, Tommy and Smith, forefather, may have come sometime to America as slaves and got settled over there, and that's how their origin actually remains Africa, and they now belong to America, so they were known as your African American. And in very simple word, we call them as Negroes. In US, there were two sort of people, whites and blacks. Actually, that's apartheid system that we have seen in practice in Africa, a very common term used there. And here also the same thing was happening. There was your racial discrimination in USA going on, and a very important civil rights fight was on in America. So here these two people did something that rose everybody's questioned, or rather everybody questioned, that is such a thing actually happening in America? And what was this question? That's what I'm going to talk here. So if you just, I'm going to show you one picture, and if you see that picture, you will be able to relate what I actually wanted to state. Okay, so if you see this picture, there are three men standing on the podium. And what is the podium? Where you come and collect your medal. The medal ceremony is going on. There are three people standing on the podium. But can you see any difference? The two people who are standing over there are black. The US athletes, black. They are African American. But they're not just standing straight and taking their medals. At the backdrop, the American anthem is going on, and they are standing, their head bowed, hands raised, fist clubbed, right? The black gloved fist, their heads are down. And one more thing, the whole picture, you can't see it, you see that they were just wearing socks, no shoes. So the question here arises, what was the symbolic gesture done by them here in this? What they wanted to tell? Why they are not standing straight to take the medal? It's such a, it's everybody's, for everybody, it's such a proud moment to take the medal. But here also, they're very happy to be there. Who are happy? Tommy Smith and John Carlos mainly. But they are trying to give a message to somebody. Somebody is who? To the world. And what is the message? If you just feel it, when we bow down our head, when we are not happy, that is the first symbol that they are not happy. When you raise your hand, make a fist, wearing a black gloves, what it shows? That we are against something. We want to voice something. Third thing, do you ever go without, and especially an athlete, ever have you seen them not wearing a pair of shoes or sports shoes. Here they were just wearing the socks. And why? What they wanted to say here, what they wanted to portray here, that they are poor. Doesn't mean that these two are poor, but they were symbol. It was all symbolic gesture. And with them on the second slot, who got silver medal, was Peter Norman from Australia. To be with them, to show this gesture for the civil rights, he wore a badge for civil rights. So these three people standing there on 200-meter race result ceremony show to the world that they wanted to convey a message, especially Tommy Smith and John Carlos. I think you can see it and feel it in the picture. Yes, see it again. It gives a huge message, and it gives a message of many a thing to the world. But there were consequences. Yes, there was consequences. What was this consequences? That's what we are going to talk. So when they were standing like that, they were trying to show the black power. Why this black power? Because at that time only in America, there was lot of trouble going on between the blacks and whites, the civil rights, civil defense was going on in America. And from 1954, Martin Luther King, if you know him, Jr., was one of the person who was taking this ideology at a boom speed. He was trying to confront the people of America that you need to stand strong and come out and tell them that we are also the people of America, we are the natives of America, and tell them to give you also the equal rights. No diversity here on the basis of racial discrimination. This is one of the diversity that's saying in the same country you are divided in white and black. So they try to draw international attention. Clean Swiss symbolize their power, as I said. But what were the consequences? Carlos and Smith were taken as guilty of violating Olympic spirit by making a political statement. Why they said it? Because we know it very well that in sports we never bring politics. A sportsman is far away from the politics. But this was the first time, because nobody wanted to club in the politics and sportsman spirit. This is one of the first time in 1968 Olympic history that somebody was trying to fiddle with your civil rights and your politics and your Olympics. So this was not liked by the people of Olympic board, and they took away their medal. What happened to took away their medal? That was one of the thing. And then back home they had to face a lot of criticism. Why criticism? People said, what was the need to tell the world through your gestures that you are unhappy, that you're facing this discrimination? There was no need. We would have done that and ended up the problem here in our own country. Because when they were standing on the podium, everybody around the world was watching it. And it signals everybody. That's a very common thing. That why a person will stand with a head bow not wearing a shoes, and hand your black gloves and a fist hand. So this was the consequences that the medals were taken. What happened to Norman? Norman was not included in the next Olympics. He was not at all taken by the, not by the Olympics body, but the Olympic body of Australia, because Australia felt what was the need of Norman to do it, because it will create a rift between the relationship of America and Australia. So Norman should have not dragged himself into their problem at home of civil rights, of discrimination between blacks and whites, and he was not allowed to participate in the next Olympics. So this is what happened there. This example is going to be a set goal for the whole chapter. The whole chapter is woven around it, and it will make you very comfortable to understand every point from here when we are going to do the differences, similarities, and divisions. It's really going to help you. And this story from Mexico Olympics show an example of social division and social inequality. That in a country there is a social division of your blacks and white. But in society there are other forms of social divisions also. Regional differences, linguistic differences, religious differences. These all create your social division. We will take up this topic of social division in a wider way, relevant to this example only of Mexico, in the next session. But for now, the crux of the chapter, today's session tells us that how there, from one country, but then also there was a division in the society of blacks and white in America, and these two gentlemen, these two athletes stood by for that, against that rather. So here I end up today's session, and to our for our IP, we are definitely going to do the terms if we come across some important terms, and there's few very important terms. You can just read the PDF first. The first homework will be finding out the terms, as many as you can. Selectively start doing it for the first. Second page, you need to put Mexico on the world map. Take a red pointer pen or a sketch pen and point out Mexico. Then you need to read your chapter. If you don't have it in FlipLearn, your PDF is there. I will also with time just attach the PDF. You can go through it and it will help you to understand the chapter better. It's a very easy chapter. In the next session we will take up the social division, that how it is created and how that social division creates diversity in a country. Thank you, children. Take care. Be in good health. Be good. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.